Good morning. It's 4:21 Eastern Standard Time, Florida. Just here trying to relax. Just listening, just watching the stars and just staring at it. This is my escape. This is where I go to escape, especially if you can't sleep. And I got the camera working, but it's glitching in and out. Here staring at this here is Leo constellation. Let me show you. This is like therapy to me. Just letting you know that I'm still kicking. This is what we're looking at. That's Regulus. That's King Star, the Royal Star. Right next to it, I kept thinking about Comet 29P right there still. And also the other comet, the Wolf Comet 2024 G3. And also, which one other? A3, the other comet. So I'm looking at these constellations. This is Hydra right here, the snake. Just staring at it here, just thinking. First thing pops in my mind, I've been thinking about a lot about Inky. When I was doing the study on the mythology on the wolf comet, which I call it the wolf, and rethinking, meditating on why death of the fathers in that constellation Lupus, that ahead of the wolf. Think about all those fathers that that did themselves in back in Men's News Daily, back in the 90s, 2000. Child support casualties, when I used to document those cases when the media was a little more fair, reading the stories, the news reports, and how it all tied into the family courts, child support, how they were destroyed, that they had no recourse but to take themselves out and take others out in some cases. That's why you hear in the news report, a father goes rampant and does this, does that. I documented those too, and they all had, I must have did about 100. All that data is gone. It's like it doesn't exist. But there are some sites still that remain out there. Some that barely mentions how people are blinded. And I wish God, Lord, help me communicate better. We got our compadres going. We got activity. Our compadres are showing. Since the moon is black, it's the new moon, so we can see the stars. Remember those bright stars out there? Those are suns, and around them you got planets, solar systems. We got some activity tonight or this morning. And I'm having problems with the camera being interfered with. God knows who it is. So I'm gonna turn the camera off. Okay, let's see what happens now. See, now there's no interference. So yeah, thinking about Inky, and I did a little research, just a little research on him, how he was the father figure, the father figure of humankind. According to the ancient writing that exists, this right here, that a lot of people don't even realize, it's a miracle this information survived. See, when I was younger, I was energetic. I was able to do research on this, but I want to take it to, let's see where, I made the mistake right here, where a lot of people don't care anymore. Why should they care about the male population? This statistic I did this back in 2006, and it just because male population, American boys are dropping like a rock. I did a study back in 2002 with the U.S. Census report. So I was active. I was energy, guys. I compared to now, when I was younger, man, oh man, I used to go to the gym. I used to work out. I was young. My body was strong. I didn't have the diabetes. I didn't have all these health issues, all these problems that I have today. You would think after 65 years of age, you retire and you finally got your white picket fence, and now it's going to be taken away. Got deceived by but I used to do studies by some real evil forces. Evil. The attorney, what they did to me, leaving me now with Showtime after I told them I only could afford $5,000. I was taking, folks. I was under mental distress, being used. After I dropped the case, the pro se in the beginning, just say, you can have the house. I mean, she doesn't even live here. You can have the house after I die. You can have everything. Oh, okay. So I dropped the case to pro se, and then to be served 4 weeks later. Again, I mean, it's the story with my story, it's like these stories here, similar when I used to do the child support, when I used to document case by case by case, all colors, all races, all ages, didn't matter. They all had the same thing. They got destroyed to the point they felt that it was necessary to take themselves out. What would make a man take himself out? You break his heart. You lie to him. I mean, yes, there's bad men. They're always going to use remember, they control the media. They control the universities. They control government. They control everything. I mean, remember the fallen ones, the sirens, Enoch, the Anunnaki. And when people hear the name Anunnaki, they, oh my God, it sounds like some sort of creature or some sort of bad aliens or something like that. But no, yeah, there's like in our society right now, you got the good, you got the bad, you got all colors, all races, just like us. They created us in their image. They're the Anunnaki means those that came from the heavens. That's the definition. Those that came from the heaven, those that came from above. And all the ancient Native American, India, Sumerian, Mesopotamia tablets, that survived the flood, the destruction, have a little brief history of them. Enki was the good one. Enki was like, how can you compare him? He was like the Christ-like. He wanted us to, the others wanted to destroy before they left, before they got all their gold. This is according to the text, and you can research it and follow. They wanted to destroy the weapons out after they used this. Just like this court system with the men. They were, I wonder why the men are doing themselves in. Why? It's right in your face. I mean, look here, for example. I mean, the thing is, again, I have to emphasize, people don't care. Once that's established and put on the table, with that mentality, let's go forward. This is 1950 statistic from the back then. This is after World War II. You know how many men died in World War II? And yet, there was only 1 million separating the females from the males. This is after World War II. And then in the 1970s, we had a southern jump. This is when the feminists, since I'm old, and since I was in the front lines for a long time, and this was non-funded, nobody was funded on our side, the men's side, you see a drop. That's almost 5 million. Why all of a sudden? This is no World War II. Okay, we had the Vietnam, but we didn't have 5 million died. Why did 5 million drop off? Remember World War II, more was killed in World War II. So then all of a sudden we got a gap because we had the introduction. And the thing is, they have to provide the information. They have to provide the information that what they're going to do. And they did it. And it was in 1963. I got another video on that report, congressional. They outlined the 45 goals. But it's so deep. Not even, if 1% could understand this matrix and the spiritual, I'm going to take it from the spiritual. The land of the eagle is destroyed from within. Eagles mentioned a lot in a lot of the book of Enoch, the eagle. Well, getting back to this. These are numbers that nobody wants to see or nobody cares. Not even a church. Not even the church. All of them. All these churches that you see. Do they ever talk about this? No, because they're afraid of losing the female and losing money. It's all about money, folks. Lust for money, lust for power, lust for control. A lot of false prophet out there. So many false prophets, so many false. If they don't mention this, okay, I understand about the child, the unborn too. That's like 60, 70 million. But before you could do that, you got to eliminate the fathers. Think of the pyramid structure, the way God laid it out. God, husband, wife, children, the umbrella. So back in the 50s to 60s, we find 5 million less males. Welfare started in 1966. That was LBJ way to destroy the black family. So he started welfare, and then they put in projects. They used to have inspectors. See, a lot of you young folks don't know this. The old timers know this. And then the old timers need to get this information documented out there more, how it was back then, back in the 60s. Back in the 60s, since I lived the 60s, guys, you seldom hear about divorce. They stay together. Did you know that the black family back then and the black African Americans can back me up on this, that their divorce rate was the lowest among all? Yeah, you heard that right. But do you hear that? No. And then 1990 came around. A lot of you now that could relate to some of you, my audience. All of a sudden, let's stop right there. All of a sudden, it jumped from 127 to 121. That's 6 million now. 6 million. So where did 6 million men go? Where did they go? Males. Remember, they're going after the children too. The boys. Where did they go? And remember, it has to show us an ID number. And it's right in their face. This was put in 1985. And I got a video on the impact it has. Over 50. And then comes the year 2000. Let me stop right there. The year 2000. All of a sudden, we're like, what are we looking at? 11 million? 11 million less males. Was there World War III or something like that going on? No. What was happening back in 2000? What made... See, that's why... This is where I come in. This is where I try to shine the light, but we've been taken out. Information's been lost. This is like finding the Library of Alexandria. Try to find that information. It all started right here. All of a sudden, and that goes back to child support casualties. They were doing themselves in like left and right. The system was destroying them. Now, this video here is for documentary purposes. Esto para que todo mundo vea what the diablo are doing. 9 million. And if you guys think it's only the Democrats doing it, no, the Republicans passed this law right here in 1996 to continue going after the males. Then the U.S. Census changes data to this number. In other words, they modified it. But the original number was this. So it's to conceal. It's called concealment. They could hide the numbers. They could hide all this. And you guys could be all fooled by these locas. And you see they're out of control. They're totally out of control. It's a spiritual thing. A lot of them are not what you think they are. A lot of them, the beauty, the way to get to a man is the beauty. Just like the sirens did with the ancient sailors. They lure you in. And yes, there's good women out there. There's good women. God knows there's a lot of good women out there, but they're silent. Not completely silent now. A lot of them are getting the telephone call just to they're seeing the veils lifted. They're not afraid of these Amazons, the Riddler. Now, this is back then. Remember, I was in the front lines with this. Why more illegal U.S. are males? Remember, we had that illegal problem. Not the word. We had this problem back then. And more than 60-40 are foreigners that attend U.S. colleges. That's what from the Middle East. I remember that. And still, the current ratio in our college universities are approximately 60% female, 40%. Now it's higher. I had a chart on a video that I did I think it was yesterday. So looking at the big picture as a former soldier point of view, in a nutshell, we are being taken out slowly, period. See, this is the stuff you don't see. You don't hear. You hear any ministers talking about this? Yes, they could be God that preached the word of God and all this other stuff. But when you take out the fathers, just think strategically. Remember, a lot of this philosophy, a lot of this was exported to other countries. Now, let's go back. Let's take it back here, okay? When the 6-6 law was put in place. Now look at this. This is just child support. This is not divorce. All the laws against divorce, against men, no fault. That was Reagan who pushed that. It was difficult to get divorced back then. As the Latino, Puerto Rican, Latino community, Hispanic, when they married, they stayed together till they died. Of course, they're going to have a roller coaster, up and down, up and down, up and down. Arguments, fights, it's part of nature. But when this law came into effect, and I just round out the three numbers because it's the number of death. Look at some of the effects. High interest rates on child support and AFDC welfare. The AFDC back then was called welfare. It was welfare. See, they tagged you. If the woman was collecting, if she was living in the projects back in the 60s and collecting, of course she was collecting welfare because they made it so attractive. Money, free rent, free food, free medical, free furniture, free housing, free this, free that. But you, under one condition, you cannot have a man or husband inside the house. And they used to send inspectors, and the black community knows this, and the Latinos, the old timers, to do surprise inspections to see if they catch a man in your apartment, in your home, your apartment, your housing. They they threaten to take away all your benefits. So now you got the fathers out there homeless, hustling, living by themselves, broken, doing themselves in, being put in jail. You know what I mean? I had a study of, it was over, and information's gone. Information's gone. Where it was approximately 350,000 men, fathers, in jail, family court, child support court, all that court, in jail for back child support. Let's say the real child support. Remember, there's there were 6 different categories of child support, all under the same umbrella, to give that illusion. See that they select the words real good. Child support. Who's not gonna support their child? Right away they make the wording so beautiful, for so deceiving. But in reality, it let's say if I pay $100 in child support, by the time it gets to the mother, she probably gets about $50 or less, because they added interest. First they get you in the arrears, and the arrears can't be it cannot be retroactively reduced. Debts cannot be forgiven. So you got to pay back the welfare she's collecting, plus the interest. They tack on interest, and then they tack on administrative costs, and then the child support. So you're falling behind now in child support tremendously. You could be $5,000 in the hole before you even make the first payment, because then they add interest on the child support using this. So I have an outline where there's 6 different deductions, and they charge interest, maintenance fee, and all this other stuff, court costs, DNA costs. Then you got to get a feminist, most case back then, freshly coming out of boot camp, feminist from college, and then you got to pay them for supervised visits. And then the mothers don't show up, you still got to pay them and the visitation. So it probably come out to $150 to $300 per visit. But nothing happens to her. She violated visitation. Nothing. It breaks the man more. Judges' rights are prohibited from giving fair, just verdict determination when mistakes are made. If you get sick, disabled, and can't work, still no mercy. In other words, if you get sick, you get disabled, you get in a car accident, you're in intensive care, whatever, or you had a heart attack and you can't work, the meter still runs and you can't make payments. All of a sudden, you're $10,000 behind the hole. And the meter is like a New York taxi cab meter. Visualize that. Numerous added charges. The law forbids bankruptcy. In other words, now you're bankrupt. They sucked you dry like vampires. They sucked you dry and you can't file bankruptcy. What are you going to do now? You got no money. Your credit limit, you can't get no credit cards because you passed that 80% threshold, whatever it is, 70%, 80%. So now you can't get no extension on your credit card. Okay, you can't file bankruptcy. They won't permit it. Did you ever hear any ministers out there? I think I've heard one or two. Paternity fraud debts not forgiven. In other words, if the child's not yours and you had to do all those tests, spend all that money, all that legal going to courts, and then you can't present your evidence, you can't hire an attorney. Attorney cannot be provided unless you go out and do harm, a criminal thing to somebody, then you have the right to have an attorney. But in this case, you don't have a right to an attorney because you're broke. They've broken you. They destroy your credit. So now you can't get no credit. Have any ministers out there spoken about? Have you heard anybody in the church speak about this or defend this? Nada. And the list goes on and on and on. Pay legal costs, court costs. And then if you're a truck driver, right here, let me freeze it right there. Because these are, you got to back this up with fact, and the facts is out there. They take away your license. There was a case in South Carolina where this guy ran from the police. He was an ex-U.S. Army black man. And the only crime that he committed in his entire life, he served his country, and only to be, I did a video on that too. I mean, this list just goes on and on. Now if you're a truck driver, you take away your hunting license, or you can't relax. You're fishing, you go out in the ocean, you got meditate on the ocean, just relax, get away from society. No, take away that too. This is where I go hunting. A lot of these guys are hunters. They like to go deer hunting. Take away that too. Oh, I go camping. Oh, take away that too. And then they make you a felon. They made it where if you're over $5,000 in debt, remember all this added 6 different categories. Now they make you a felon. Now you can't get a government job. They take away your savings, checking, retirement without even a bank. In other words, I used to, the child support casualties. A lot of the guys mentioned this, where their bank account was wiped out. They only had 53 cents. Right before, they did it right before rent. They hit you like on the 20th. There was a case where they did it on the 25th. Right before he paid rent, electricity, and all that, they took all his money. So when rent time came, he couldn't pay his rent. And he wrote a note. He left a note. It's important to, leave notes. They took away everything. So what did he do? He did himself in. Do you hear any ministers talking about this? Okay, now they make you a felon. Your background history is destroyed. Prevents you from getting good government jobs or other jobs. And place to live. In other words, you can't get government housing. No. They take away your Social Security, life savings, and benefits. That's been documented. Once you become a felon, you lose your rights to vote. That was back then. So now the men cannot speak out. Now they're trying to get them to vote now. You lose your rights to bear arms, and make sure they take away your weapon. You could be a veteran, just came out of the service, take away your weapons. The less men, because the men are the fighters of this nation. I don't care what the locals say. The men are the ones that are sacrificed to fight, to bear arms, to defend this country, so they could do this to them. So they're defending the country, so they could get them when they get home. And then they brand you a deadbeat. Oh, the media love that. He's a deadbeat. He's not supporting the child, even though in many cases, in my case, I have custody of the child. Child's abandoned. I raised him, but I still had to pay child support. And yet, I could be classified as a deadbeat, even though you got custody, because you got those 6 charges under the umbrella of child support. because you still got to pay off the welfare that she's collecting. The interest and compound in there. So none of that's forgiven. Even though you take custody, you're still branded a deadbeat. Think about that for a second. Have you heard any churches talk about that? None. They post your picture on, this is back then, on TV, newspapers, internet as a criminal. That's when internet started. They, like milk cartons or this guy. They used to have posters like the most wanted posters, like those ones that rob bank. All these guys with a shock look, like I got effed up. They made them paint them to be criminals, these men are evil. Even though they have custody in some cases, they're still criminal. Even though they're raising the kid, there's no credit. None. Take away your passport. Now you can't leave the country. Let's say you want to go back to Vietnam or you want to go back to some other country you served in, get away from this. You can't leave the country. They ain't done with you yet. No place for help in this situation. Trap, homelessness, depression. How many men's shelters are there for abused men? Do you know what was the latest statistic? Over 60-70% of the abused now are men. Do they got places to go to? Homeless shelters? No, let them sleep on the streets. Let them do themselves in. They suck the energy out, folks. Don't you think God sees this? The creator of all? They can hide it. You become homeless. They steal your children and destroy you to the point of no return. Those are the stories that I reported back then. All these guys, they all had the same MO. They take away your disability checks. Even if you got injured in combat, guy loses his leg, arms, ears, half of his face, and he gets a disability check from the VA. They take away that too. So not only did you almost die for your country, they take away that too. They cook the books and hide overpayments so you stay trapped. This happened, so many investigations of this right here, where they got busted, guy made payments and they didn't apply it. They were taking it, stealing it. Where's the news media on that? Where is the coverage on that? Where's the outcry? So in other words, you're overpaying, but they hide. Why did they hide it? Because they're making money. They use the Social Security system to make money from this. For every dollar, they get $1. You see how evil this is? They steal your money or lose file. All of a sudden, the file's lost if you're doing overpayment. So-called computer problem, lost payment, $660 million missing. This is back in 2002, and it was reported to Congress, not including the states that are missing money. Where did the money go to? To feed the beasts. More gangs result. You got more gangs. They become criminals because they got to survive. There's no father because many boys don't have complete family. Father is gone. Now the father figure, the discipliner, the enforcer. Back then he used to get spankings and they set them straight. No fathers, more gangs, more violence, more gangs, more violence, more gangs, more drugs, more this, more drugs on the street, more fear, more hatred of government, police, result in more crimes. Now you got the total deterioration of the family. More victims joining this in jail, in and out, costing taxpayer billions. You gotta pay for these jails, right? Who's paying for it? You are. And remember, if you get put in a family court in jail for child support, you have no constitutional rights. Like if somebody was to blank you or rob you or this, a robbery or this or that, they have a right to an attorney. In this case, you have no right to an attorney. Has any ministers talked about this? Have you heard anybody shine a light? Of course, they got their thing. They got a good wife, supportive. They got blessed. So they don't experience this, and they don't even want to talk about this because they don't want to lose the money. They don't want the females. They get angry. It's all about money, folks. It's all about money. Number 36, employers and corporations losing good employees, like truck drivers. It was, like workers, because now they're a felon. Now they're broke. Their credit. They do credit checks on some of these employees to see how your credit is. If they see your credit, that's a red flag. HR ain't gonna hire you. They're not even gonna touch you. Sorry, Mr. Vet Father, you can't. They don't even have to explain. More staff and money spent by corporation to oversee these laws, bookkeeping, the lawyers, etc., etc. Yeah, it costs corporation money. It hurts business. It's about the money, folks. Homes taken away. Now they go after your home. You're broke. Oh, you can't pay it. We'll take away your home. Just like that. Pull it right out of your rug. Okay, it goes on. You can't even get help, welfare, or food because they go by your gross, not your net. So let's say if you're making, I know this is low figure, just using this as an example, $100 a week, okay? The child support take away what? And we payment take away 40. That's not including taxes. After the taxes and everything, when the net gets there, you're looking at what? 30%. So you're looking at $30. What you gonna do with $30? Have to pay and get health insurance, but now you got to get health insurance, even though she's on welfare. In most cases, and if the child is receiving welfare, you got to pay that anyways. Mother and new husband have already health insurance. Even if the mother and the new husband have already health insurance, most cases better coverage. Okay, get life insurance policies. Pay for college tuition. Still, even if the mother, new husband is making 2 to 4 times more than you and getting earned income tax credit. You get like $2,000, $5,000 per child, something like that. It don't matter. You have no constitutional rights protection. You have no Bill of Rights protection. The country you serve in the armed service turns against you and uses everything in its power to destroy you. I bet you this factor contribute to a veteran's killing. Yeah. It says 22 a day. That's more. And this is just veterans. What about the non-veterans? And then, just when you think you're getting out of it, the guy's child 16, right? Or 18. You're just starting to see a little light at the end of the tunnel. They raised it to 26. 26. And this is happening. You've seen a case that, what was that, 50 cents? Or what, one of those. Here. Okay. And you don't think God sees this? Of course he sees this. Of course he sees this. Of course he sees this. You take away the father. You break up the family, the marriage. You punish the father. You crucify him. Yes, the terminology, crucify him. And a lot of these fathers were good fathers. They didn't do nothing wrong. This is not touching the divorce system. This is not touching the injustice and the evil in the divorce system. This is not touching the domestic courts. They falsely accuse you for doing something. He army 10, 20 years ago. Oh, guilty. Get in that cell. Shut up. But I ain't doing it. Shut up. Get in that cell. Beep. He hit me. They call the police. He assaulted me. Where's the marks? He assaulted. If the cops is called, who goes to jail? The man. You could have bruises and all over your body, blood coming out of your body. Who goes to jail? Who they're gonna believe? You see, because the way they programmed them, this is back then. Imagine it's still now. It's by law they got to take somebody to jail, and 9 times out of 10, it's the man, even though he's the victim. And they got to. This is not touching the divorce system. Take away your visitation, alienate your rights. Do anybody cares about this? Have you heard any churches, ministers talk about this? No. Be careful who you marry. Now, look at the eyes here. Now listen to this. This is how they do it. She's telling you the way they do it.
4 times divorce. 4 times. Let's go. Tell me. What do you want to know?
What is the most toxic thing that you've ever done?
Okay, let's do this. All right. Take them to court. And then get a good divorce lawyer, of course. Take them for half of the retirement. Take them half of their property. And then fight them for higher child support, okay? And a couple of years from now, hit you up for more child support every 3 years. Every 3 years, you go up from maybe 200 to 300 to 400 to 500. You bring it up to $2,000 per child. Per child. But I got one child right here.
Hear that? She's out there partying and playing victim. What we have here.
Hope's reaction. Once he notices who or what just opened the door for him. Notice his facial expressions. Notice the silent prayer he does once he sees what he's looking at. Yeah, it's that serious. He looks kind of stressed out. But now, pay attention to the guys who opened it. I showed you the first one, but look at the second one. And you can look at it yourself. You can see it all yourself on YouTube. It's a 4-minute video. Go check it out. But look, no ears. Nothing. Look at that. What is that, bro? That's not.
So there we have it. And this thing here with the fog, with this, I had that in my security camera the other day. I saw that. I thought it was bugs at first. So now we're being eliminated. And that's why God is stepping in. The Creator. Yes, there's gates are being open and portals are being open, but there's also the good out there. And so that Comet Wolf, I always refer to comets. I had this story. If you really look at my first video on the comet, it's telling a story, reminding us of the dead fathers and the punishment to come. Right in Sagittarius, the new moon's in the right in the arrow, and the comet is heading towards Odysseus, the snake bearer. So what we have here, if these are not the end times, and then I could go on and on. This is open. The Lord is stepping in. The Father in heaven is stepping in. I always look at the sun, and I could point out some things right away. Right away. Look at that straight line right here. I mean, you can see this square. Let me punch in this real quick. It won't let me enlarge it. You can see the distortion. I've been following this for over 30 years. It's not happy. It's not happy at all. You know, this video here is me talking. I was watching the stars. Yeah, watching the stars. On the 23rd, when all the planets align, that's when my crucifixion, the teller of the stories of the dead of the fathers, is put in trial. And you know what? I'm not even preparing for it. Oh, what do you mean you're not preparing for it? No. System is rigged. You're not going to be able to present this. I got already ripped off $8,000 that I accumulating interest that I'll never pay off. Never. So they done their things. I mean, they probably knew each other from school, because I have a stepdaughter that was same university as them. Probably fraternity sisters. Who knows? God knows. God knows all. God sees all. God knows all. So they could camouflage and lie and do all the deception, play victim and all this other stuff. But in reality, God knows the truth. I was the one that told the stories of these poor guys, the death of the fathers, the death of the men, coming out of the men's star. The men's star. All those billions, probably trillions of stars in the universe, and one named the men's star. And the comet, God is giving me the insights, letting you know what's all about and what's the judge, what's going to come next. And what's coming next is fire. Magnetic field's falling apart. Do you think, picture yourself as the Father in heaven. Like Jesus said, not even the angels know what time comets are messengers. It's giving us a head start, like the Magi. They follow the stars. They knew the messages because it was divine given to them from the Father in heaven. And as I look at the stars and I think about those that came from the heavens, remember those that came from heaven, the Father back then was Enki. He's the one that a lot of people don't know about. And this is when I was looking at the stars that I saw. Remember, he said creator of all. He worshiped the creator of all. When he meant all. He meant everything you see on that screen. And this is one teeny tiny sector only